Okay, so now we're recording. And screen share back to here, share, and I will go here and back up real fast. So this is the new library login screen. As I said, this would be the screen that you would hit in many instances, especially if you click on a particular library database. This is the student login. If they pick student, the username is the beginning part of their ICC email address, and the password capital I, capital C, last 5 of their social security number. This is not connected to their ICC student email, which the first time they log in, they're asked to change that password. It is also not connected to their e-services password, which again is it's that same password the first time, but then they get asked to change it right away. So that does confuse a few of our students with that. So
Amy, can you say that one more time? Because my students had a problem with that this summer trying to get to those films. They couldn't get to it.
Okay, so this password is not linked up to their e-services password or to their ICC email, student email password.
Okay.
Because both of those, the first time they log in, this is that ICC in the last 5 is the default for everything. But when they get into their email or to e-services, they're asked to change that password right away. This is not connected to either one of those. So have them try the default as their password. If they still run into problems with that, then I would suggest that they email the Technology Center or the Technology Help Desk, and they can reset that password for them.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. Thank you.
For faculty login, if you have used Microsoft Office at any time this summer, you may not even see this screen. If you're not logged into your ICC email, you will see this screen. If you are logged into your ICC email already, it's going to bypass right this and you'll go directly into the library database. We've made it much more seamless for the faculty in that respect. So you do have, those are the screens that you will see if you are not logged on to Office 365. Next, this is about the links. Before June, we were on using one sort of what they call a proxy server. In other words, a way to make sure that only students and faculty are getting to our library resources. At the beginning of July, we went to a new one called Open Athens. So if you have links embedded in your courses for films, for articles, anything that has to do with the library, you're going to want to make sure that it is not this prefix in your link like what you see here with this example, but it has this example up here. Personally, what I've done more often than not, rather than trying to actually manually change this, is that Jessica Bastian has done a real good job of making sure that any of our databases where they have a share this course material to your students, she's done a real good job of making sure that it has been changed to this Open Athens thing. So you may want to go into the library database, go into Films on Demand, do a quick search for it, copy the link there, and then put that into your, change that out, swap it out with the old link in your Blackboard. That's the way I've tended to do it rather than trying to copy paste and grabbing something that probably shouldn't be grabbed. So anybody have any
question?
Yes.
Do I need this link if I want to link to, say, your MLA guide any of, like anything I pick, right?
As I'd have to find out exactly what you're talking about with MLA guide. Is that through
Like your research help, you know?
those LibGuides? No, it is not part of that.
Oh,
This
okay.
is only for articles and films on demand that are directly purchased by the library.
I see. Got it.
Okay, so you know, and something, and I will get to something a little later that will a new thing that we're going to be offering at the end of the year that could actually change that whole thing for you too, if you do have links to library resources in your course, but we'll get
Okay.
to that afterwards.
All right. Thank you.
Okay.
Amy, one other question. If I have the links for summer still, will those work for the fall? Like I have the links to the Swank film or the films through Swank, whatever,
Yes.
for summer.
Okay. And were students able to access them after July 1st?
Yes.
Okay, then those should be good, yes.
Okay.
And the Swank films are now licensed until June of next year.
Okay.
So you have those for the entire year.
Okay.
At this point. Okay?
All right. Thanks.
You're welcome. Okay, so now this is the new where I get to go in and do some live stuff here for you. And I will say that I will tell you right now, there probably will be some times or two where I will be like, oh, well, that isn't what I expected it to do. We are still working out a lot of the kinks. If you do something and you're like, why did that do that? If you can take screenshots and let us know and send them to me, I can forward them on to Jessica and we will try to we'll either try to answer it for you and say, that's the way the system is, or, ooh, that's something wrong. That's something we need to work on. So, so we're still working out a lot of the kinks, but we're trying to get as many of them out of the way before school starts on the 17th. So, okay, so this is the library's homepage. You will see that we still have the library search bar here, which we figure most students will probably go, oh, cool, that's where I can start my search. There are benefits to this in the fact that it does get students using the library. It does, one of the drawbacks though, is that it does provide an awful lot of stuff. So it's kind of one of those, if you'd rather have your students go into a particular database, they can still use this search right here and then scroll down and pick one of these frequently used databases, or if there's a database in these subjects, that's fine. But this library search basically will search for books and ebooks and articles and reviews and films and everything. So that's where, as I said, that can be a little overwhelming, but it's a way to get students introduced to it at least. So I am going to do a search from this, and I like doing this search because it's fun. Paul McCartney, and it'll open up in a new tab. The default from using the blue search bar is all ICC collections. There are other ways to limit this if you want. You can go up here and then say, I want only books and videos. I only want articles. If you've got material on course reserves, your students can now search for those automatically. Margot, I know you use course reserves. They will be able to search automatically. Matter of fact, I think we'll have it be able to set up so that if they search Margot Vance up here,
okay,
that will come up for them. So they'll be able to access and they'll know what books are on reserve for your particular class. Or if they search English ENG 099 or whatever, that will also bring up stuff too. EBSCO databases. This basically, let's put it this way. This interface that you are seeing right here, right now is from a company called ProQuest. Many of you are probably familiar with the ProQuest Research Library Database. They tend to, if you're looking for articles, tend to push the ProQuest articles up the list. If you know you want to focus on EBSCO databases, though, you can go ahead and do your search just for EBSCO, and this will search only the EBSCO library databases. And then the last is for all iShare libraries. If it's a book that you know that the library does not have, but other libraries in the state probably would, they can search all iShare libraries. And I'll talk more about books in a little bit. So at this point, the next thing I'm going to point out to you is this right here. Sign in with your network ID and password for full access to the ICC library. Encourage your students to do that automatically. After doing a search, have them do this right away. It will give them more access. It automatically then has signed them into, if there's an article link that we click on, it'll take them right to that particular database without having to do the sign in business. There's ways to save things with if they've signed in. So when I click on this sign in here or use this one, it's the same way either way. It's going to come up with this, and everybody here at ICC is going to use this, Illinois Central College users. And then you'll see here that then that's when they get this faculty, staff, or student. And I will go ahead, and I'm using an incognito window here, so I will have to sign in real fast. And sign in. And no, I don't want you to stay signed in at the moment. And now you can see that we have gotten rid of that yellow bar, and my name is up here at the top and things like that.
Oh, yeah.
So, okay. A couple things I will point out to you. It brings up the first 10 items in your list. If you need to see the next page, click on where it says load more results, and then number 11 through 20 come up. One of the things I really like about this is that you can do this load more results and you never lose page 1 at all. With our previous one, you'd do next page, and then if you decided that you needed something on the previous page, you had to backtrack. You continue, you can just, this list can go 1.5 miles long with that. The other thing is your filtering over here and how you can filter your results. If you want things that are only available online, I'm basically meaning articles and or ebooks, you can select that. Peer-reviewed journals, if you want to make sure that your students are only getting peer-reviewed stuff, you'd click that. Notice too that when I do this, that this little red X comes here. If I don't want to see peer-reviewed journals, I can click that and it'll exclude all peer-reviewed stuff. This interface also includes open access things that are on the web that, you know, we didn't have to purchase. So there is ways for students to access only open access stuff. And then if students only want books, they can select that there. We do have a way to limit by date, so that if your students, if your assignment is peer-reviewed journals, but only from the last 3 years, then they would go peer-reviewed and then change that to 2017 to 2020 and refine. If, when we get back on campus, that we want materials from one of the other campuses, either East Peoria, or if there was stuff from Peoria, Peoria's would be there, and I can say I want that. I can filter by resource type too, and that'll limit to only articles or only book chapters, which we have access to, or reviews, things like that. So there is different ways to filter this search, okay? Any questions on that so far?
No.
Okay. So for books, and I'm showing you this right now. I will let you know that as of the first day of campus, or first day of school, August 17th, while the library itself will not be open to students, we are going to start offering access to books to students. We are working through a process of how we're going to go about. I think one of us is going to go to the campus each day, pull any books that have been requested, check them out to the student, put them in a bag, take them to the bookstore, and then the bookstore will be the place where they can pick up any books that they've requested. We're still working through how the students are going to return those books. We're not quite sure about that one yet. There's a couple of different options for that. One is to return them to the bookstore, but then the bookstore closes at 4:30, so we're trying to figure out what we're going to do for after hours returns. And then books that come back to us will be letting set in quarantine for a couple days too, so they won't be quote unquote returned right away. So just be aware that if there are books that you see either in our campus or through the All iShare libraries, you will be able to access them. Okay?
Okay.
I am going to click on this first one for Paul McCartney, The Life. And you can see that this window kind of side opened up a little bit here. One of the things for navigation on this page is the fact that, you know, we had a list of however many items on that list. If you want to go to the next item on the list, there's this X right here and this arrow takes me to the second book on the list. So you can navigate through the list without having to go back to the original list every time. So I will go ahead and keep this one here. Now, right here it says get it. If you are interested in requesting this book, there will be a link here come Monday, August 17th that says get this item. And you'll click on that. If you're logged in, it'll pre-fill in your name and your student or your faculty ID number. I think the only thing it'll ask you that you might have to fill out is what campus you're going to do, but we're going to make that so everybody has to come to East Peoria for that. And then you click on that and a message comes to the library saying, hey, Margot Vance wants this particular book. That day when we go to get the books, we'll make sure that we pull it, check it out to you, take it to the bookstore, and then you would go to the bookstore the next day to pick up the book. You can also see that there are several other libraries in the state that have this particular book. If we did not have this book, if you were looking in the All iShare libraries, and I'll get back into this a little bit, this list, there will be a link and it says get it from another institution, and you'll just try to get from one of these. You don't have to pick which one, it'll default for you. As I scroll down this record, here is the details on this particular book. So you know, have a brief description of the book if it's like that. Subject headings, the author, things like that. How many pages, what the copyright date, all that stuff. And then at the very bottom, I think this one's kind of fun here. As a librarian, I know that sometimes we will find one item on a search and go, okay, let's go find that book on the shelf. And then when we get to the shelves, we find that there are 3 other books nearby that we go, oh, this one might also work as well. That's what this virtual browse is. This basically gives you the books that are close to this particular book on the shelf. So you can basically scroll through this and see what other books are on the shelf near this original McCartney book that I've pulled up here. So it's a way to scan the shelves without having to actually be on campus to scan the shelves. Okay. So that is basically a book at the ICC campus. Questions?
Not a question, but I love that virtual browser.
Isn't that nice?
Yes, it is.
As I said, I realize that there are limitations to library. I mean, I've been a librarian for more years than I care to admit, and I will do a search and find one really good book, and nothing else really comes up in the search. And I go to the shelves and like, well, why didn't this come up? But it's nice to be able to see that. So,
Yeah, I'm excited about that.
okay, so I am now going to do a search for Beatles. And again, but this time I am only going to do, I think I'm going to do this search like this, but this time I am going to limit only to peer-reviewed journals. And you'll see here that I've got some here, and I'm going to scroll down a little bit here that I'm looking for here. I'm going to talk now a little bit about these little icons that are right here. This one right here is basically a pin. If I were to click on this, and I'll show you in a minute what it does, but if I click on this item, it goes up to this little pin right here, which is the My Favorites. Again, if I'm logged in, it's basically a way for students to save records that they want to look at better later. Rather than copying the permalink for this, they can just go click, it'll move it up there, things like that. This is the permalink. This is the citation, but this citation is only for, well, in this case, this is an article. You know, I'm kind of, you know, if you look at this, it doesn't tell you what database it's from. So I'm, you know, me who's the Noodle Tools person is like, don't use this one. That citation, no, don't even do that. So I probably won't even show students that. What I wanted to make sure that you guys are aware of, though, are these two little arrows right here. And you can see that not every one of them has this. This one right here with the arrows pointing up, it says find sources citing this article. So let's say you've used this article and you want to find out who referred to this article. You can click on this link and it'll take you to a listing of every article that has cited this particular article. And if we have access to that, it will say here it's in this particular database. There's going to be some that won't. This one is the find the sources cited in this particular article. This is the one that I talk to students quite a bit about. I say, you found this really great article for your paper and you need some more sources. Go to the bottom of the article, find the works cited page. Let's see if we can find those articles. Well, this link right here basically takes that information out here, and now you can see, and I don't know why it's coming up with 11,000 articles. That shouldn't be, but you know, but at least you can come, I don't know why that's doing that. I think I'm going to have to report that to Jessica. That's one I'm going to have to report because I'm like, I don't think there's that many articles cited at the bottom of that article. So, but that's what that's supposed to do. Okay. So now at this point, another thing I've noticed is that once you click that link, it goes bye-bye. So I'm going to have to rework with that on Jessica. To be able to find this article, just click on where it says available, or to access this article, click on available online. And after a second or two, it's going to say to you, okay, this is in, oh man, this is being a little slow today. Hopefully, there we go. That we have it in two different databases, the Arts and Humanities database or Research Library. when I click on Research Library here, since I'm already logged in, it just automatically takes me straight to the article. And here is in ProQuest, here's the full text in HTML, here's the full text in PDF, and here is the abstract and details on this article. If you're not a Noodle Tools fan or whatever, and you don't care, there's the link that the students are going to want to cite for that one, to be able to cite this. Personally, I'm a Noodle Tools fan, and why I'm not even crazy about encouraging them to use this, but because I've seen mistakes, but that's just me. So, okay. So you can see how smooth that is. As far as this save, add this item, I click on that. Notice how that floated up to the top. Then when I'm signed in, if I go away, if I sign out, come back 2 weeks later, sign in, I click on this, that'll take me to that article, and I'll show you in a minute for that too. There's another article I want to look for here, and I think it's this one right here. Another article, same type of deal. There is open access available to this, but it will take us directly to the library databases. And you can see here that it actually did bring up an article from the EBSCO databases. Now I'm going to try this. This is one of the things that we have been working on here. Yes, and this is a problem that we are still working through. Hopefully by the beginning of school that we will have, this will not come up. It should automatically take students in. If you do run into this, try this institutional login.
Because right now they're just able to get into ProQuest with ease, right?
Right.
Because that's what you just been showing us is all
right,
ProQuest.
exactly,
Okay.
exactly. So now at this point, see, then when I clicked on that institutional login, then it knew I was logged in, and then I can actually get to the article in question. Okay. Any question on accessing articles?
No. Can I ask you one question though? Because I'm thinking probably my students would be using most of this probably in the humanities class, because I'm going to change my paper and have them do some other stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have, since we're going online, if I wanted you or another librarian to help them to find quality sources,
Mm-hmm.
is there a way to do that in this online environment?
Yeah, there's a couple ways that we can do this. Number one, if you're willing to give over a class period, are you doing online anytime or online scheduled?
Online anytime.
Okay. What I have done with this, there's two possibilities. Number one, we have a bunch of tutorials already created, and we're going to probably have to redo them here pretty soon, but we have tutorials created that we can link to. Number two, and I just did this with Nikki Aiken yesterday. She contacts me, and then we pick dates for students. Pick dates for me to open up a Zoom room and students to come as best they can. If they can't make it, I record the session.
Okay.
And then it's uploaded to our YouTube channel. I send the instructor the link, and then they have to watch it. In Nikki's class, I know that she does that, and then if they can't attend, they have to watch the video, and then there's a quiz involved with the video to ensure that they actually do watch the video.
Okay.
But that's up to you if you're willing to do that. Nikki also does a very interesting thing in the fact that we do this like 5 weeks in a row, but we only do a half an hour session, but then that allows me to break it down into smaller parts, so that we're only the first day is nothing but how to get to the libraries page, how to sign in, that kind of thing. The next week is the beginning of searching. The third week is beginning of Noodle tools. By week 4 and 5, we get into more details on, you know, if anybody has questions. We also do a little quiz on plagiarism.
Okay.
You know, now that's, again, that seems to have worked well for her and for me, because then I don't feel like I'm cramming a whole bunch of stuff into a 1-hour session. But not all students can make 5 weeks in a row like that either. So
Yeah, she's probably doing online schedule too, which
actually,
makes.
no, she's not.
Oh,
She's
okay.
not. She's an online anytime. Another way that you can do that is that the first week of class, you can survey your students and say, how many of you could make, if we scheduled something for Wednesday evening at 6 p.m., how many of you could make that? Or, you know, or whatever. I've used doodle polls for things like that. And I am willing to do an evening session if you want. If you
Okay.
find out that most of your students can't make it during the day, but they can make 7 o'clock in the evening, I've done that.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
And if you
Sounds good.
and if you want more information about that, just email me and we can
Okay.
talk through that a little more.
All right.
Okay. Okay. So my next search, I'm going to go up here to this all iShare libraries. We're going to jump back to books for a second. And I'm going to search for Man on the Run McCartney and do a search. And, oh, didn't take. There we go. I picked this one because I wanted you to see this 2 versions found. In this case, from what I can see here, you can see there's 2 different covers. My guess is that one's a paperback, one's a hardback, but you can go into each one of them and look and see. This would be your way to request a book. In this case, this one's only available at Columbia. If I go to the second one, I believe it's available at many more. And again, there would be a link somewhere in here that says, get this book. And what it would do is, it says no available services right here. That'll be the place where it'll come up with a get this book for me or something like that. You click on it. If you're signed in, it'll automatically fill in your name, your ID number, all that stuff. All you have to do is go click, get this, and you're done. Okay? So that's the way students can access books from other libraries in the state. If you do have students that want to try to do this, if we were in person, I usually say 3 to 5 business days, and we can usually get them in 2 to 3. With being online only, now we're probably saying it's going to be closer to 7 to 10 days before they'd be able to get it. So that's one of the reasons why we're not expecting a huge influx of people requesting books, because if it's anything like most of our students, I don't know about you two, but for me, I've had experiences where students come in on Friday and they need a book for a paper that's due on Monday, and we don't have the book. And it's like, can't do anything about that, sorry, you know. So, but if we've got students that are really planning ahead, we can probably get the book for them. Okay. The last thing I'm going to show you in this is this library card page. Actually, I'll go here. Let me go to my favorites first. And you can see here, here's that article I saved. So once someone's logged in and they click on that pin, then this is the listing of all the things that I have saved in the library catalog. So you can see I was doing some work on our One Book, One College because I'm finding reviews on Born a Crime and things like that here. So, so that's an easy way for students to save particular items in our catalog. It will also keep track if there are searches that you save. You can see here again, I was doing some searches for One Book, One College, and these are the 5 searches that I did. And it will also give you your search history. Up here is the library card. And as long as I'm signed in, I can go here to this. And this will bring up the books that I've got checked out at Illinois Central College. If I have any books on request, if I have any fines or fees, and if I've got any blocks on my account because you didn't return a book on time. The fine and fees is basically we don't charge fines, let's put it that way. We don't charge overdue fines. So we don't do if you're 1 day overdue, we don't charge you 10 cents. But after 90 days, if you don't return the book, then we start charging you the replacement of a book plus a fee to process the book. And that would be listed here. It would also be listed in this block as well. And then each one of these on this overview page is broken out from loans, requests, fines and fees, blocks and detail. And then this is also where you can see what your ID and your personal details here. One of the things that I can talk to you about, but I can't show, is if you do have requested books from other libraries in the state, those libraries will be listed along the left-hand side of the screen here. It will default to Illinois Central College, but if you want to see when that book that you requested from ISU is due, you actually have to click on the link for ISU, and then it brings up that. The other thing with this loans, you can see that I'm not overdue. It's not due until 10/1, but if I want to renew it, there would be a link here that says renew this item. Click and I can renew the book. Any questions on that?
Nope, I'm good.
Okay. So that's all I have for the search interface. So let me go back to share screen, share. Okay, and now, nope, wait a minute. Okay, so now do you see a screen that says Leganto here?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
let me make sure that's where I need to be. Okay, Leganto is the thing that I alluded to earlier as far as what it does is it's a way that you can incorporate reading lists into your Blackboard course without having to leave Blackboard. And you can include library resources. You can include PDFs of things that you have in your files somewhere. You can use open education resources into your Blackboard by basically making a course reading list. In a way, it's kind of automating the whole reserve process. And when I did this presentation at the beginning of July, this was kind of a pipe dream for us. We now have the funding for this. Because of going online, this is coming. We will be able to have this ability at the beginning of the school year. Now, I know many of you are working on your courses for fall right now, and you may not want to get into it for fall, but you may want to consider it for spring. Again, we are working through a lot of details on this. I know James Decker is working with us on this. Brian Fisher is working on this with this. He has his English 110, I think, is totally OER. So he was very interested in this. So you may not want to work on this right now, but be aware that this is available to you. And it basically just gives students a one-click, here's my reading list for this particular week, and it gives you everything that they're supposed to either be reading or watching and things like that. And you can track their usage of it. You can know how many of them are using it and things of that nature. You can use, as I said, it's library resources. You can use TED Talks or YouTube clips in Leganto. There's a way to easily add those with a little bookmarklet that you can install on your bookmarks tab or save as a bookmark type of thing. So just be aware of that's coming, and we're just very, very happy that we've got this. And I think we'll have it for at least I think we had to sign a 3-year contract. So we'll have it for at least 3 years.
So Amy, like, can I ask a quick question?
Sure.
Because I'm OER for English 110.
Mm-hmm.
And so now I just have like a folder that has everything that students have to read for English 110, and I just make it available as we kind of go through it. Is that
Right.
essentially what's happening here, or is it make it easier?
It's similar, yes.
Okay.
Part of it may depend too on, for me, I have an 8-week class that I teach, and I've got my class set up so that I have week 1 folder, week 2 folder, week 3 folder, week 3 folder, et cetera, et cetera. So students know what to get into by week. So Leganto would be similar to that, except that it would be basically with just creating the reading list like that. But you can set up, if you don't even set things up by week, you just make one big reading list and say, here's the reading list. And you can mark things as this is required. You can mark things as this is optional. You'll be able to do possibly even book chapters.
Okay.
Depending on it, copyright. Part of that is copyright things too. But it sounds like, you can put in almost anything. And as I said, there's a way that if you want to add a YouTube clip, that's up to you. If you're doing some web surfing,
Okay.
and
Maybe this is what Brian is using for my English 099, that's using parts of that book.
That's part of it, yes.
Okay.
It's not using Leganto, but
Okay.
it is something that I know what he's working with you on that.
Okay.
So, and maybe for spring semester, that could be what we would use. We would use those files that he's scanning for you in Leganto.
Okay.
That would be okay.
All right. Thanks.
You're welcome. The next slide here is changes to the library help guide. So we've got a link here that I can send to both of you. This link is a LibGuide, a research guide, like what Nancy was talking about earlier, but they're specifically on the changes that have been happening in the library. A review of the login information, a review of the how to link stuff. This will probably, I think this is the page where the recording of this session will show up. Things like that. So I can send you that link after we're done here today.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Okay. And then that's basically it at this point. So if you have any other questions, I'll let you ask if there's any other questions first, and then I've got one other thing to mention to you as well. So do you have any questions?
I don't have any questions. The link would be great, because I know once I get started doing stuff, it'll be like, what did she say about this?
Yeah.
And I'll need a reminder.
Right. Well, let me tell you the last little bit then, and this is something that we're going to be starting next Wednesday at noon. I think we settled on the name of Faculty Connect with a Librarian or something like that. And it's basically our version of librarian office hours, except that I'm the faculty member and you're the student. And so it's going to be kind of a drop-in thing. We're still working on the details on how that's going to work. I think it's going to be that we're going to have like a little chat button that you click on and say, hey, I need some help from a librarian. And we'll go, okay, here's a Zoom link for you. And then come meet me in 5 minutes. And then we can talk over any issues you have with the library. We're going to be offering these weekly on Tuesday mornings at 10 a.m., just like we're doing here today, or Wednesdays at noon, or Thursday evenings at 7 p.m. And I think we're going to offer them all the way through to like the first 8 weeks of the semester.
Okay.
So that's going to be something to be, that if you do need some help, you can always email us and chat with us anytime too, but those 3 times each week will be times when you can have specific one-on-one training, or if there's another person that chats at the same time, there might be 2-on-1. It'll be similar to what we're doing here today as far as that goes, but it can be specific to any library related issue that you're having. Okay?
Okay, that sounds good.
There will be more information on those forthcoming. I don't know when yet. As I said, we're cramming as much as you are to try to get a lot of details done before school starts. So,
Okay.
and then that's basically contact information. Of course, those are the quote unquote phone numbers if we were on campus, but none of us are on campus. And then there's that at the end here. So I am going to stop my share. Any last questions?
No, I think I'm good.
Okay. Nancy?
Yeah, I think I'm good too.
Okay, then I am going to stop the recording